welcome back to the stage, J.R. Storman.
Good morning. Good morning. So I wanted to clear the air on something. You may have seen this in the rooms, and it is not me. It is 100% not me. I'm going on the record on that. So I got here Friday night. I was jet lagged. I was tired. It was kind of dark in my room. I walked in, and it actually scared me because I thought it was me too. But it's not me. I'm going to say that like 4 times. The hotel said it's meant to be like an AI-generated young Gaudi or something, much better looking, but yeah. Wanted to clear the air. Okay. Now, back to the regularly scheduled content. I think 20 people texted me that yesterday, so I just had to mention it. So welcome back. How was the night? It's good? All right. Good. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time going around to all the parties. I hope you all did too. I heard there were dinners happening, there were sponsor events, there was receptions. I heard a lot of stories. I asked a lot of people kind of like what they took away from the day, what they agreed with, what they didn't agree with. Some fun personal stories. Met a couple folks from Portugal who were here who were sharing how they had met at one of our meetups a couple years ago, and then one of them had lost a job, and then they'd come together and really supported each other, and now they're really fast friends, and they hang out all the time. Met some folks from Manchester who were talking about doing FinOps and cycling tours. Really fun to see the community coming together and being not just working in the same area, but actually enjoying time together, and that's one of the things I love about this event. One of the analysts I talked to said, which I was very happy about, it's different than a lot of conferences because all the content is actually relevant and useful and learning. Said a lot of conferences that people are often kind of just slapping their backs and saying high fives and the great work you did. It's a lot of case studies, and we really try and bring in, and I so hope you saw in the breakouts and Chalk Talks yesterday, real people talking about their challenges, not just their wins, like actual things that they've learned as part of that. So a couple takeaways. I asked all these people what they thought resonated or didn't resonate themes, and I heard 3 S's the most. I heard scopes, I heard SaaS, and I heard sort of the size of the community. I have to say scopes and SaaS like 6 more times. It came up a lot. There were, I would say, almost religious debates I heard last night about scopes and the expansion of FinOps beyond public cloud, in the aspect that I had a bunch of practitioners saying, I'm really delighted to see it going that way, and we had some folks saying, I've been doing it that way for years, or looking in that direction, and others saying, I would never do that, or I don't think we can actually do that. So I'm really interesting to see, particularly as data center and on-premise portion of FinOps plays out, what you all see as that goes through. On the flip side, SaaS, the aspect of bringing that into the cloud FinOps practice and expanding that beyond cloud was something that seemed to resonate universally across everyone. And we heard a lot of interest, a lot of excitement about getting SaaS into the focus specification. Focus specification also came up a lot last night. People were all over the board with their responses. They were like, this is amazing, I love this, I'm going to be doing this. There were people like, I don't understand quite what it is and why we need it. There were people saying that it might be a leveler for vendor requirements down the road, where people might be making it part of their vendor selection process. Others thinking that it had a long ways to go before they would be willing to look at it. So we're going to look today at a lot of different areas of that, but I think, in terms of all of this process, whether it be scopes or focus or the way that FinOps is expanding, it's all evolving, right? We're all still figuring out here together, and that's why we have you here to cover these areas. We also heard a lot about FinOps being applicable to a lot of other domains, right? And we had people who were doing IT asset management here. I met a guy last night who had never really done anything in FinOps, but had been in licensing for years, and his company has sent him to this conference to say, this is really similar to what we're doing in licensing, we should do this in our cloud, right? And that was really interesting. Oh, there he is, actually, I recognize the beard. And so, we're seeing this confluence, everyone coming together. I mean, AI was a big topic. I heard there were fantastic Gen AI talks around how to manage that. And one of the challenges, right, because this is not a case study conference, one of the challenges is still getting executive engagement for the FinOps teams and FinOps practitioners. It seems to be not something that the team can necessarily create from the bottoms up. the organization has to get to the level where cloud spending or whatever type of spending they're managing in the FinOps practice is hitting a level and scale that it matters to the executives. So these are things we all still need to figure out together. So with that, I wanted to bring this back up on the screen in case anyone missed the day one keynotes yesterday. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about all of these themes, right? How FinOps is moving beyond public cloud into other areas. We talked about how we had gone from cost-aware product decisions to FinOps-aware product decisions. Had a really interesting conversation with someone last night on this as well, where they said, yeah, we've been bringing cost into our product decisions for years, but we haven't been bringing the FinOps way of working with like highly iterative data and having more collaboration and getting to the business value application before we build. FinOps for AI, we're going to hear more about today in some of the talks. Sustainability-informed decisions. Again, we're saying sustainability-informed because in that iron triangle of decision-making between cost and quality and speed, carbon and related metrics are another consideration that we need to bring in. We're going to hear from some folks here in just a minute about that. And of course, the last one being FinOps is everyone's job, which I think seemed to be the one I heard the most universal resonance with in the way that the practice and the people involved with the practice are continuing to spread out. So all in all, I was really happy to be here. Great to see all of you and be in this lovely spot together. Which brings us to our first, oh, and actually, I wanted to do another little moment. We'll see if it works better today. The question marks. What is the theme that we're missing? And I tried this yesterday and nobody was willing to speak up. I'm going to try it again. Somebody throw out a theme. What is it that we're not talking about in FinOps land that we should be? What was that? The job of the team? Okay. What else? Career progression, yeah. That's an important one. Where does the FinOps role go over time? How does it grow? And I think this is tied very heavily to, does the purview and scope of the FinOps practice increase, and where does that sit in the organization? What is another one over here? People, in terms of how they interact with the practice? Yeah? So definition of the personas, the roles, where does it sit? Any others? In the back. Ilya. Geographic expansion of the FinOps practice? Okay, yep. The community within the external community like this, or within a company? Yep, okay. What would you like to see happen with the community? We're doing our 25 planning. More sharing experiences, learning from others, yeah. Thank you for that. So that's exactly what I want all of you to give feedback to me and my staff on when you see us afterwards, is all of these things, because we're prepping for the next stages here. So with that, my timer is saying I'm up. I want to bring out the next group. The AI topic came up a lot last night, and I think it's really, really germane to this group because increased power consumption, bigger impacts on sustainability, changing regulatory winds, changing administrations. This is a very hot topic right now. So we want to bring together a panel of people doing this in their practices and hear what's actually happening, what the challenges are, what's working, and where they see it going. So please welcome to the stage the chair of our sustainability SIG, Bindu Sharma, as well as Natalie, Mathjis, and Ferran.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope you enjoy the pastries and coffees outside. We'll start with a round of introductions. I am Bindu Sharma from Teradata. I serve as a Senior Director of Cloud Financial Operations. Before that, I've also established successfully the FinOps practice in 2 other organizations. I serve as a technical advisory council in FinOps Foundation to strengthen our FinOps framework. And as JR mentioned, I'm chair for the Sustainability Special Interest Group. Now, in yesterday's keynote, you may have seen that SIG has published the content around sustainability intersection, new KPIs for carbon footprint metrics. So I'd like to take a moment at this time to acknowledge the exceptional work from our SIG members who dedicate their time and expertise to create this content for the practitioners. Actually, they are the true rock stars of this initiative. With that, I'm thrilled to be here to talk to industry experts on the topic. Natalie, let's start with your introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Natalie Daley, Head of Cloud Economics and FinOps at HSBC. And sustainability has been a significant feature in our FinOps capability for the past few years. So glad to be here. Thank you.
My name is Mathjis Hendriks. I'm working for the Rabobank. I'm a sustainability community lead, but most of my time I spent actually in the central FinOps team as an analyst.
My name is Ferran. I work in Adevinta as a tech lead of the FinOps department. In Adevinta, we are the leads in the online classified ads in Europe. So we have a lot of marketplace trying to make people reuse things, sell cars. So in the sustainability, it's in the DNA of our company.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. So, we have lots of practitioners in the attendance today, and many are watching online. It seems like a big step to start the practice or to get started. So, Ferran, I attended your session yesterday. It was informational and entertaining, I must say. So, tell us how you have established or helped establish the cloud sustainability practice at Adevinta.
Yeah, in Adevinta, we was helping the sustainability team many years ago to build the yearly report all the companies do, or almost all the companies do. So 1 year ago, or a little bit more, we was in the FinOps team. Nobody asked us, not management or sustainability asked us, but we want to lead by example, and we start to join the forces between saves cost and saves cloud carbon footprint. So we decided to start treating the data from the CO2 like we treat the same information of cost. So we merge efforts to decrease both sides.
Yeah, perfect. We have seen those areas like, the motivators, sometimes it's personal, and that's how you start the initiative. Mm-hmm. So, Mathjis, actually, I want to repeat the same question to you because, we want to give practitioner more use cases, right? Every organization use case is different, so they will get some good ideas. Same question to you. How have you established the cloud sustainability practice at Rabobank?
Yeah, so sustainability has always been part of our DNA, actually, because the mission of our bank is growing a better world together. And we facilitate this culture change in different ways. So for example, with sustainability events to boost the knowledge within our company, but also hackathons or challenges for our engineers to boost innovation. And of course, I'm the sustainability community lead. We have a big community with 2,500 participants over there, exchanging information and getting the right answers to go on top.
Yeah, see, good to know how FinOps is all about culture. You said even sustainability is all about culture, and you bring the gamification of FinOps into sustainability. Good to know. So, Natalie, at HSBC, I feel personally you have pioneered the practice of cloud sustainability there. So, walk us through what were the drivers, how did you get there?
So at HSBC, I think there was a top-down and a bottom-up approach. So senior leadership made declarations around, as an organization, being committed to reducing our carbon footprint. And then on the ground, from a cloud FinOps point of view, we were helping the organization articulate the wider value proposition of cloud. And in doing that, we set up a number of metrics and KPIs around our other value factors of moving to the cloud, one of which was sustainability. So so we articulated our impacts in sustainability via FinOps with the wider value proposition. And then we moved on to making that data visible and aligning it with our FinOps data. So that's where we are today.
Yeah, good to know, like, we are talking about the metrics around business drivers. So, like, sometimes it's customer request or investor-driven.
Yeah.
But I would like to put the metrics and KPIs around carbon footprint. So tell us, Ferran, what metrics and KPIs do you measure today, and which one of those is the most effective that you feel?
Yeah, when we start in the add all this information about carbon footprint, we start to put the detailed information about with the information by team, by day information of the carbon footprint. But we start to learn more in depth about the sustainability. We start to hear about the scopes, about embedded and embodied. So something that we ended up to, because everybody knows what is the equivalent of carbon and of CO2, but probably people has know what it is, but it's difficult to compare. So we start to put metrics like the equivalent of miles with an electric car or miles with a plane to make the people have these amounts more understandable of what they are producing.
Yeah, make it simple. Yeah, wonderful. Actually, I have a follow-up question on that. Like, how do you show it to other teams, right? Your achievements or your progress of basically like carbon visibility.
Yeah, as I said before, we was doing 1 year report about the carbon footprint. That was good, but all the information was aggregated for the company, for the different marketplace we have, and was only one data per year. So what we decided is to start getting the information by day and aggregate by team, by areas, by services, by providers we have. So, and graph this information that it's updated 2 times a day, so the people can see almost in real time how the evolution is. And this was without expecting. The people start from half a point or half a graph, start to ask questions about what is happening here, what is this drop or this down. So it was really interesting, this reaction of the people. One was related with sustainability, but other ones was developers that start to think about what the things are happening.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, good suggestion. Mathjis, I want to ask you, like, give us some tactics that you use to reduce the carbon footprint.
Yeah, so we have a lot of engineers at our bank, and that is also where the work is. And at the moment, we see that the tactics around power scheduling, right-sizing, like things that we also know within FinOps are taking first to get started.
Yeah.
We would love to go into topics like demand shifting, where you try to get your workload in a more carbon efficient time slot. But I think to get those words together, it is beautiful to start with power scheduling for engineering teams that are need to start with this topic. But this is quite technical, right? Not everybody in the room, but also virtually, maybe cannot do anything about it, or with your SaaS, it's maybe hard to implement that. So I wanted to say that the business also has some accountability in that. 90% of our data after 3 months is not used anymore. So I want to challenge you actually, after this keynote, please take a look at your personal drive or your email and delete those big files, and then we can really establish the practice in your daily life as well.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. We understand some limitations around this topic, but at the same time, do not look for perfection. Just get started with what you have and start reporting and measuring some KPIs. Actually, Natalie, I want to take a shift from there and ask that, sometimes practitioners debate to reduce the carbon or reduce the cost. So how do you reconcile this cost and carbon conflict?
I think the key here, and what we've been working on at HSBC, is presenting your carbon data at that decision-making point. So there will always be business drivers around cost, around resilience, around speed. But if you present carbon at that point when those decisions are being made, then it can be a factor in that decision-making process. And often you'll find, if there isn't a trade-off, so if all things are equal, but you have an option to move to a zone, for example, that has no cost implication but better carbon, then it's likely that your engineers will take those decisions, and so will your businesses. Yes. So I think presenting that data at that point is where you can make those trade-offs.
Yeah, and I think, see how it's like all binding together, like bring the visibility and then show everybody that, okay, if you have to make a choice, let's make the carbon choice rather than cost. Good. And, I know this is like a very general question, but I think I should ask so everyone can hear out from all of you, like the challenges. So I'll start with you, Ferran. Tell us one challenge that you're tackling today and why that is the biggest challenge.
Sorry. Of course, one of the main challenges we have now is the different reporting from the different providers. We need some standardization, focus, or something like that. At company level, for example, the company wants to put some goals about reducing the carbon footprint. But if you have a global goal for the company, it's really difficult to the small team to understand what they need to do, what is the impact. So now we are mixing budgeting process with cost, seeing the implications with the carbon footprint to be able to small pieces this global objective to know each team what it's the objectives they needed to do.
Oh, that's great. Go ahead, Mathjis.
I think there are a lot of challenges. There are more challenges than answers, probably. But I would say shifting left, we also hear that at FinOps, but in the design phase is where you might make most impact. If you don't write any code, we have heard that for a number of days over here, but that's really important. And that comes also a little bit with what do you actually measure, and what do you take off that scope? Are you only focusing on your infrastructure, or do you also take into account the energy consumption of your end user device? So there's a number of factors that makes a challenge difficult.
Great. Natalie?
So I agree with both of those options. I'd also say a consistent unit of measure for me is a real challenge, and not just across the technologies themselves, but vertically through the organization. I think it's really important to have a consistent unit of measure, a transparent calculation methodology, because some things do need to be calculated. So you can measure progress, and that it can be rolled up and aggregated. All the things that we're talking about can be made visible to the organization and track how we're doing with our goals and targets. I think that would make a big difference.
Great. So with that, I would like to extend again, thank you for sharing all your industry. You are coming from the industry, so that knowledge is always valuable to the practitioners. So I'll ask you guys, if you have any further question, get into the details, insight, please reach out to this incredible panel. And the SIG is always looking for to develop more content for the practitioners. So please come in, join the SIG, and bring your expertise, and we can create more content. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job, Natalie. Thank you, Bindu. So the FinOps Foundation is based on open source. We're part of the Linux Foundation, as I mentioned yesterday, which is a nonprofit tech association out of the US. And I mentioned the open source aspect because what Bindu was talking about at the end there is exactly how we build the FinOps framework and how we build all the best practices for sustainability or public sector or FinOps for AI or any of these areas. So if you are wanting to help advance this practice, kind of regardless of what stage you're at, but particularly if you've been doing it for a bit longer, consider getting involved with something like the Sustainability SIG. They meet to do the work we talked about yesterday, to updating the framework capabilities to make sure they're reflecting the latest metrics that we saw that indicate how you might want to incorporate those data into your practice. They're working around an updated glossary of terms that you need to understand in the FinOps practice. And there's lots of opportunities to engage. So definitely check out finops.org. There is an events page that has lots of community calls where you can start to contribute or just listen in if you want as well as part of that. One of the conversations I heard a lot last night was about that maturity mix I mentioned in terms of different companies at different stages of their FinOps practice. But in all cases, everyone trying to quantify business value, and not only to show that to the rest of the org what they're doing, but to hopefully encourage additional value as part of that. I heard some surprises from people, actually. Some were surprised at the maturity of some of the European companies. Conversely, some were surprised that there were some really big name companies here that had really just gotten started with their FinOps practice. So for me, and a lot of you who've been in it for 5, 7, 10, 12 years, optimizing cloud in some format, yeah, there's a lot of maturity and expertise, but a lot of people are really getting started. And as we're learning, you're never really done, right? You're constantly evolving in this area. So we looked at this yesterday, and we talked about how FinOps is meant to connect the business strategy to the technology strategy and provide that elevator up and down, not just for monthly, quarterly, executive level reporting, but all the way down to the people on the ground floor making decisions for continuous improvement. I wanted to bring this back up because we've got a great story today that I wanted to share from a practitioner who's been doing the practice for a bit about how they've connected these two and some of the business value that they're driving from the FinOps practice to ensure the rest of the organization benefits. So please welcome to the stage Frederic from Renault. Welcome.
Hi.
So good to see you here. I know you weren't able to make the first part of the conference.
Yep.
You got here yesterday, so hopefully you had some conversations. What were some of the things that stood out, or one thing that stood out from the conference yesterday for you?
Well, everyone I'm talking about is talking about AI in FinOps.
Yeah.
So like this is coming to us, so I think that's inspiring and exciting.
And that's the AI for FinOps or the FinOps for AI or both?
I mean both, actually.
Okay.
That's great to see.
Great. Well, excited to hear your story.
Thank
you, sir.
So good morning, I'm Frederic and I'm leading the technical operation for our connected car platform at Renault Group. And today I'm going to walk through our journey with FinOps that has been essential in managing the cost effectively for our connected car platform that we launched back in 2019. So in few words, I mean, this platform powers a range of innovative features, from remote control to over-the-air update for our car, lifecycle management from the factory to the end of life of the vehicle. Today, I will walk you through the challenge we encountered as a platform growth very quickly and the strategic FinOps approach we implemented to manage the cost effectively. So basically, 2 years after launching the platform, we faced significant challenge coming from the rapid growth of the connected car ecosystem. Of course, we were expected a steady growth in terms of number of cars being added to the platform, but combined with a surge in terms of number of vehicle messages the car exchanged with the platform, that led us to a situation where the cloud costs were nearly 4 times higher than we were expected initially. So at this point, and it was really a die or live point, those challenges were on both sides. From the technical side, with the ability to scale the platform to cope with the growing usage of the platform. And from the finance point of view, in terms of managing the return on investment, and at this point, the scale of costs was absolutely unsustainable. Of course, we initially implemented some basic FinOps practice, like reservation management, for example. But the scale, the magnitude of challenges we were facing was far beyond that point. So at that point, we took a decision to extend our partnership with Microsoft and to develop a global and holistic approach of the FinOps so that we can scale the platform to the need and manage the cost. So to address this FinOps challenge, we had a dedicated team that were focused on the not only on the technical execution, but also on the financial governance. And this team was instrumental in designing a much more cost-effective architecture and by identifying opportunities by collaborating with the various engineering teams. To streamline the data flow from the car to the cloud. Technical implementation was important, but it's not only about technical implementation. So we are establishing a team with 4 principles. So the first principle is about making sure we have a shared goal between engineering team and finance. So everyone was working against the same goal, from finance perspective, but also from capacity and scalability of the platform. The second, we implemented a data-driven framework so that we can make decisions based on data that speaks to both engineering and finance. The third thing is that we had this dedicated team, and this team was only about FinOps implementation or technical implementation, and so not involved in over demand or requirements or not impacted by the growing demands of requirements. And last, this team was able to make decisions to quickly react. So it was true for capacity decision, for example, or even for tuning some services that was not cost effective. And eventually, this team was also in charge of the governance, meaning that each decision on the platform was going through this team. So we were able to adjust the capacity of the platform. We were even able to review the design of service, and sometimes we even stopped some services that was absolutely not cost effective. With this systematic approach, we achieved more than our expectation, initial expectation, as shown in these 2 metrics. Actually, this is showing the result from the 2 sides. From engineering side, so the volume of message talks to engineering side, and the total cost per car, which talks to the business guy, because they want to know how much additional cost is to be on the car. So eventually, this brought us to a much more sustainable position for the platform. By having this, investing in these teams, we were able to scale the platform, but also to reinvest the saving in making the platform better. So today the platform is more reliable and more performance. We move from a platform where we were struggling in making it working and deliver expectation to something that it's exceeding expectation. So the journey has been a long journey, more than 3 years. Okay, after the 2019, 21, we make a decision to have this FinOps, and now we are 24. So the journey, we had some good return on investment, some more moderate return on investment, but our backlog grow and change and evolve every time. So we adapt the backlog of what we are doing to the context. We had to adapt the platform to new generation of vehicles during the journey. So it's been a constant review of what we had to do to continue making the platform performance and reliable. And this continuous investment in the FinOps, making the experience, transformative from every side. The onboard side, the guy doing the vehicle, the cloud engineering, and the finance team. So thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you.
So as you mentioned, the journey's never really over. You're constantly working through integrating the practice to bring the value. And I wanted to continue the story through the lens of how FinOps is everyone's job and the data underneath that brings it. So our next speaker is going to speak about changing culture through data with focus. Please welcome to the stage Pierre-Emmanuel from STMicroelectronics. Hello, welcome.
Thank you to meet you.
So, how has it been for you? What stood out so far at the conference?
Oh, very exciting. I was very excited by the next focus version yesterday.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It will bring plenty of new data that we will use for my company.
What do you want to have in it? Because they're about to lock the scope.
Subcategories.
Okay, focus people, listen. Sounds good. We're looking forward to hearing your talk.
Thank you so much. Good morning, FinOps X guys. I'm very excited to be here today with you. I will present you basically our focus journey, how we have implemented focus inside our company, what are the challenges we got, and a couple of them for sure. So far, how will we overcome the challenges we have, and finally, what was the benefit of using focus for the company. Ready? Ready. Okay, a big complicated slide. So nevertheless, we used to have a standard pricing model, a pricing process, cost product, using the Azure actual amortized data set so far, which is basically okay. And we decided to clone what we used to do using the standard data set of Microsoft and adapt it for the focus. So basically, what we decided to do first is to work on the data ingestions. Data ingestions will be drastically changes because the format of the dataset will be different. We took the approach first to use as much as possible the standard features of Microsoft. For example, the export. The export is running daily. We are extracting the month-to-date data. We are compressing the dataset, very important because we have a gigabyte of dataset every day so far. And those datasets are stored in a dedicated blob storage for focus. This first step, which is changing compared to the previous one, enables us to keep 5 years of history inside our blob storage. Because I think today in Azure, you can have only 1 year data availability. Once this process of data extraction has been done, so far we have at ST a Power BI service to produce our daily showback and monthly chargeback. So for sure this one has to be revisited. So we reprocess it to read now the new data set, format from Focus, decompress so far, and we are running that nightly to extract the 1 year history, 365 days. Then what we do, we are doing data enrichment. So we are plugging our cost allocation key so far, and we are adding data like the ST organizations categories so far. We are adding the financial calendar for the chargeback. We are adding the forecast of the applications. We are adding the exchange rate. Even we are adding some data which are coming from external, like I am taking from internet the day of the time change to display the data at the right timing for the company. So all this process comes from the legacy process. It is absolutely not change versus the previous process, and it is pluggable here. So what you have here clearly to understand, we have reduced the data extraction, and the data ingestion has been for sure revisited so far, but plenty of things has been unchanged. Alors, we have to admit that we got some challenges. It was not straightforward the day one. The main challenges was to understand the new metadata. Alors, I am a French speaker. Maybe you see that with my accent. I don't speak English. Well, English is not my mother language, and sometimes in the dictionary of focus, I was hesitating to understand how the field is used. Moreover, Microsoft is doing the same. They produce a dictionary, which is, by the way, a good approach, because they are telling you in Microsoft, in your legacy process, you use the field X, Y, Z. In focus, you should use the field ABC, but with some new values, for example, few default values. Again, with a different definition, English wording. I have to admit, sometimes I use ChatGPT to translate the definition to be sure I clearly understood. Alors, I can give you one example. On focus, now you have effective price or effective cost. You have contracted cost. You have billing cost, and even you have probably a list cost so far. And by the way, which one should I use for my particular showback report? Maybe it will be this one, but for another report, it will be another one. So I have clearly to understand what was the definition of this different showback, the different data set for my showback. Can I give you another example? On the Azure data set, you have a field which is telling you this record, this cost record, is a reservation. Okay? However, in Focus, you have two fields for that. One field which is telling you it's a commitment. Okay, good. Another field is telling you it could be a reservation, a saving plan, or even a dynamic spot. So you understand that in my Power BI, I have to adapt a little bit the filter and maybe to add another filter to select the right record. If you don't do it, by the way, when what I would say after, when you do a parallel run of the two systems, legacy and the new focus, you may have some cost differences at the end. Okay? So far, this is important. Next example, for example, when I was looking at my daily showback, which was showing the cost per regions, initially it was totally empty. I said, oh my God, what I have done. I got a mistake in my development of my filter. And finally, I remember in the Focus training that Focus is now using the ISO country code, which is not the case for Microsoft. Well, it was simple. I just have to rebuild my master data for the country code, realign, and I got immediately all my records so far, changing also the filtering. So to discover that, you need to run regularly your two systems and compare month by month till the time you have exactly the same cost, and you can quite be sure that your new focus process will be correct. Alors, maybe some companies don't have a current focus process on the top. A standard process on the top. Well, if you don't have it, you can use in Azure the cost management reporting to compare what is given by Microsoft versus what you will extract in Focus. Okay? So this is very important. Maybe the last example I will give you was last week. Last week I was comparing my cost data between Focus and my legacy extraction, and I had 600,000 euro differences. I was very afraid, while in September it was matching perfectly. So again, I did a mistake. I don't know, my cost allocation key was wrong, whatever. I even called my friend from Microsoft, I don't know where they are, said, did you do a mistake or whatever? But 600,000 euro in 1 month, it's a big amount. And I remember that actually 1 year ago, we did a purchase on the marketplace, and it was renewed. It was renewed, it was in my legacy process, but it's not in Focus. So finally, what I discovered is that Focus, to qualify also the record, have another value, which is purchase. In the legacy process, every purchase on the marketplace was qualified usage. So again, it was a filter that I have to adapt to match it. I have done two parallel processes. I have done the Microsoft preview version. It is running since July. It's matching perfectly now, but I will not go in production with the preview. So I have redone the job with the V1.0 from September. I will continue to do the parallel run probably till the end of the year, and I will switch in production in January to have a full year of history so far. So the first advice, do a long parallel run, because you never know what you have done 1 year ago, for example, for the purchase or whatever. And one day you will have a new service that will be extracted, but you have not filtered it correctly, and you have a cost differences. Alors, basically, what is the lesson learned, or what are the challenges? Well, data ingestion was a challenge. It happened one time, okay? But I have also developed now the expertise. And what you have to understand that you have done it one time, it will be much more easier for the next CSP or the next SaaS to do it. Because, again, what has changed, you see, it is basically the data extraction and the data ingestions, okay? This is for the data flow impact. Next topic is regarding the cost allocation key. Alors, at ST, we have developed a cost allocation key which is composed of these different elements. So we have a key which is representing the ST organization and the sub-organizations. This key is also linked to the solution belonging to a particular project, solution composed of several applications, and this allocation key is giving you one cost center. To access this allocation key, with Azure, we are using a combination of subscription and resource group, and it's giving me this access. What is important to know is that this allocation key is done outside of Azure. It is for good reason. Two good reasons is that I will try to reuse it for the next CSP or for the next SaaS, because what I will have basically to change is a subscription and resource group, how to access it with another data element coming from the vendor, first of all. And secondly, the case of my company, twice per year, the organization is revisited. We are creating a new product group, product divisions, deleting one or another. It is much more easier to change my allocation key outside of Azure, rather than having a tag with my allocation key, where I will have to change the tag value in one day with thousands of services. So doing that externally, you can do massive change, like find all, replace all, or whatever, and you do that, let's say, in 1 hour. Doing that in Azure will be very complicated. Alors, reason why we are not also we don't use so much the tag inside the company. The reason is, what I said is 20% of the running services sometimes are not taggable. I don't want to have a complicated process and discussion every month saying, I have to split 20% for you or whatever. It will be what we call salam alek, discussion with all the financial controller, where you charge me 5,000 euros. Last month it was 1,000, etc. So, no. But in Azure, any services are running at minimum on a subscription. So having this key, you are sure that 100% of the cost will be charged back. Okay? So again, when I will implement the next CSP, I take the example of Amazon. Amazon, we don't have resource group for Amazon. I am not very familiar, but I know that we don't have resource group. But there are accounts. So basically, what I will do, I will change my entry key to my cost allocation key. And the beauty of Focus in that is it is bringing, in a standard way, the different data element I will reuse to access my allocation key. Now, just to give you a very rapid example, my allocation key is basically a SharePoint list. And I have probably 1,700 entries so far inside, which is quite easy to maintain, by the way, because, first of all, we don't create subscription every day. And resource group, we have a couple. I have been alerted, and I create the allocation key very rapidly. Okay? So this is the beauty of Focus, because whatever you do, you will receive the different data elements that you need to access your allocation key. To conclude, what are the benefits of Focus for ST? Definitively simplify operation. Remember, I have cloned my legacy process. So for the sysops, it will be very simple to train them, if there is any reprocessing or whatever. So simplification operation. You see similar data ingestions, similar cost allocation key. So very good. And finally, as I am changing basically only the data ingestion, I will have a single entry for the chargeback in SAP. So I mean, accounting people are very happy. Only one process to charge the cost, whatever the CSP, the SaaS, or whatever. So this is very important. For sure, we have done a one-time education of the focus to the different persona, purchasing, financial controllers, so far. But after, when we speak all the same financial language, what's happened? It's very simple. I mean, there is no misunderstanding of the report. Because before they said, but I don't understand, this one, is it effectively cost or is it contracted cost? No, we have the same language, so no problem. So making things much more simple. And finally, you see that you can rapidly implement the next CSP or SaaS because you have only changed the ingestions. And the rest will remain the same till the chargeback inside SAP. Voilà, this was my presentation. I hope you got some interesting input so far. It was a pleasure, and I tried to
Pierre-Emmanuel, thank you so much. He did a great breakout yesterday. It has a long form, so please check out the recording. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we've talked about high level and focus. We've talked about sustainability. I want to bring in some of the people who are working on the project. The Focus project is an open source project. There's contributors who are contributing into GitHub. There's a steering committee who's setting direction. And then in the middle, there's a set of maintainers who are the ones doing the hands-on day-to-day work of the project. We're going to bring them out, the Focus Maintainers panel, and we're going to call this, in their honor, Naming Things is Hard, which has been a big part of their conversations. Please welcome to the stage the Focus Maintainers.
Check, check. Hello. My name is Shawn Alpay. I am the newly minted chair of the working group, the Focus working group. But I've been involved with Focus for a while. I've been a maintainer for a while. I've been involved for over a year. The folks to my left are also maintainers. They've been involved since inception. These folks represent, I would say collectively, thousands of hours, if not tens of thousands of hours. Just these three people. And there's, of course, other people in the room who have been maintainers of the Focus project. But just to give you a bit of context, the Focus project, if you care about Focus, you're using it now. If you care a little bit more, you might join the user group. If you care a lot, you might join the project and become a contributor. If you care maybe too much, you might put forward a lot of material contributions to the spec and become a maintainer. And that's what these three folks represent. I'm really happy to be here with them and with you. I've spent a lot of time in the trenches with these folks and looking forward to talking through some questions with them. So let's get started. We'll start with you, Karl. As a practitioner at you're a pretty big company, what would you say you were doing before Focus, and what have been your biggest pain points with data?
So first, is anyone out here from a university? If so, let's talk to your administration about a degree in cloud cost, because I've been working on my dissertation for 5 years at this point. At least that's how it feels. And I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. There is now a training. You can go out, you can take the Focus training today, get certified, 1-day online course. You don't need to go through, again, 5 years of figuring it all out on your own. And it's hard to keep all of that in your head, keep up with all of the changes that are happening from the cloud service providers. Everything is constantly moving in cloud. And we get to a point that a single person could be a single point of failure in your understanding of cloud cost because of how much you need to keep in your head. So again, I recommend everybody go out there and get certified in Focus so that anyone on the team can have the same shared understanding of your cloud cost on day one.
Yeah, cool. Larry, we'll go to you. How do you feel focus was, why do you feel focus was important for you to put your time into?
Yeah, so personally, I like big problems, and I'm a nerd about data. It's fun. And Focus has got a big vision out there for bringing together a lot of cost data, usage data, and we started with cloud, and the way it's evolving with these scopes now and everything, that there's a lot more out there. Big vision, big impact, and really excited to see where it evolves to. It's endless.
But like, what tantalized you in the beginning to become a part of the project?
I've worked on standards like this in the past, previous oil and gas experience and other things. I've developed some data standards that really helped me in my job and my company, previous company. And this has far-reaching impact to Twilio, Walmart, Neos, et cetera, right? It's all these practitioners. There's tens of thousands of us now, hundreds of thousands of companies. It's global impact. It's really driving force for me. So it's fun. It's challenging.
Yeah, each of us can individually impact our own organizations doing FinOps and doing this kind of data work, but we have the unique opportunity to do this for everybody in this room and everybody listening, which is very tantalizing. It was tantalizing for me to get involved, Irena, tell us about the genesis of the project. How did you get involved, and how did Focus get started from your perspective?
Well, back in 2022 in Austin, that's when I noticed a chalk talk about open billing standard in the agenda. And halfway through the session, I was hooked. I actually recognized the opportunity to stop complaining about lack of documentation, lack of standard, all those use cases that may surprise you and break the model that you have in place. So at that point, Odom introduced the idea to join the forces, all of us, practitioners, vendors, and providers, to come up with a solution to come up with a standard. And luckily, at that point, my CEO was sitting next to me. And when the time came and I was supposed to join the project, I didn't have to explain why I feel it's important for us to get in and get involved. At the time, I actually was a little bit skeptical about providers' engagement, and oh boy, was I wrong. At the very first meeting, I realized that those guys are even more passionate about this than I am. And now, 2 years later, just by listening some of the questions that I've received over the past couple of days, it feels like some of you are maybe a little bit skeptical about vendors' engagement. And trust me, we all believe that focus is here, it's inevitable, and we feel that it's important that we get involved. And that's it.
So, but the spark for you started in Austin a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. It gets me thinking about like what conversations have been being had by the folks here, and like what seeds have been planted at this conference that will bear the fruit of these last couple years.
Yeah.
Something you want to say there?
No, I completely agree. A number of great conversations happen at every one of these conferences. I dive into some odd topic with somebody for 45 minutes or an hour and always take something amazing away. So
maybe a few hours. Yeah.
He knows me too well.
Yes, I do. Karl, what have been some key challenges, in your opinion, to moving Focus forward?
So, big dreams, small team. I want Focus to solve all of our FinOps data challenges. Big pie-in-the-sky goal. But just like all of our day jobs, we're limited on bandwidth. What can we get accomplished? What can we get out there? What can we make meaningful? What do we do next? And really, the other challenge that I see, just like JR had alluded to, words are difficult. Denotation is what a word means. Connotation is what a word means to me. As we're naming columns, as we're writing the specification, the ideas up here need to come out of my mouth, need to come out of my fingers through the filter of language? And is it going to mean the same thing to all of you, everybody who implements it, that it meant to me, that it means to you? How do we communicate that properly?
Yeah, as JR said, naming things is hard. We've talked a lot about that. Larry, same question to you. What are some key challenges to moving focus forward?
Yeah, kind of like what Karl was saying, said differently, focusing on focus in terms of the big vision that's out there, how to boil that down, what to prioritize, when and where. We started with the cloud service providers, had a lot of lessons there. They came to the table, it was great. Collaboration, conversation, difficult at times, as you can imagine. But fun. We were able to produce something so far, right? 1.0, 1.1, and then hopefully going forward here with 1.2, with SaaS and others. It's going to be focusing on what's important and when.
You think there's maybe too many things that we could possibly do?
Right. There's lots of things we could do, right? Yeah. But it's setting things up for success going into the future, and I think we've got a solid foundation here.
Yeah. We have enough in the backlog, and we're going to add more to the backlog to cover years of development potentially. And of course, we've been hearing a lot of themes that are coming out. And so even if we got to the end of that, then there will be all these other things that have come out of conversations and from these organizations. So I think we have our work cut out for us. That's a plug. Please get involved. The more folks that are involved in the project, the more velocity we can have, and the faster we can move through those things. Irena, what would you say is your favorite moment or biggest achievement that's come out of Focus so far?
Well, we've had so many great discussions, and of course I'm proud of each and every release, but nothing can compare to that moment when I saw Focus data expert, real-life data expert for the first time. I actually never expected it. I'll be looking at cost and usage data and smile, actually smile. And that's what just was happened. I was scrolling up and down, left and right, excited. So of course, the only person that I was able to, that I knew will relate is that provider. So I sent him the message, and that's it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all about you. Irena, I mean, all three of the people up here, but especially Irena, has a nose for details, and I can see you being very excited that one day. Yeah. Yeah. Karl, same question to you. What's been your favorite moment or biggest achievement?
Me, I want to throw that one back to you. You've been contributing to Focus for quite a while. You've been a maintainer. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Well, okay. On the theme of naming things is hard. I think about, okay, so when you're doing data modeling, I have a background in data modeling. You are talking about a concept. You're not necessarily yet sure what it should be called, but you do know what it is. And there have been moments like that, a particular moment we were talking about a particular entity, and we all kind of had loosely agreed what it was, but didn't agree on what it is, what it's called. So lacking anything else, we called it a potato. And so we kept talking about potato. We had spreadsheets that were named potato. And we eventually did coalesce around a name after much debate. But if you look in the Focus spec, if you look in the PDF, you will in the glossary, you will find an entry for potato, and it is just an Easter egg for us that represents those many conversations. But I do want you to answer the question. What has been your favorite moment so far?
I found a lot of joy in building something, developing something, and hearing all of the feedback, hearing people that I had no idea were using Focus, giving me feedback. Here's how I'm doing it. Here's what I'm doing with the tool that you've been working on. That feedback really gives you a sense of achievement and makes me know that this isn't something that's just in my head. Yeah, it definitely becomes reality from something that we've been each collectively dreaming for a while. So, Larry, what's next for Focus? What are you hoping makes it into the 1.2 specification?
Yeah, what I'm hoping makes it in 1.2 is SaaS. I think we've talked about that a little bit. I think that's likely candidate. Really excited about SaaS. We've got several great CSPs, but who here manages SaaS as well, right? Additional scope with FinOps. There are hundreds or thousands of SaaS companies out there, and it's a different level of scale and complexity, and looking forward to that challenge.
Yeah, and we obviously talk a lot about our user group and practitioners who are using Focus, but our vendor community, our provider community is going to grow, in theory, exponentially. Like we've got the major cloud service providers supporting it now, and that long tail, the large body of SaaS providers, so it become its own community, really, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely. We've got great representation and diversity within the focus group and maintainers group, too, across vendors, CSPs, practitioners. Yeah. I'm a practitioner for a vendor, technically.
Yeah.
So it's we're looking for more of that, more participation from all the above. We want to keep it diverse. We want it to really drive towards practitioner value at the end of the day. And yeah, SaaS is what that's the next major step.
All right. Irena, same question. What do you think you want to see in 1.2?
So we just started discussing commitment utilization in 1.2, so I'm passionate about continuing that discussion. But obviously, when you talk about commitment utilization, you need to approach it from SaaS perspective. Definitely, SaaS is one of my favorites as well. But besides SaaS, there's also that SKU bucket that I wish that we continue working on, and many other new features. But besides those new features, what I would like us to do is actually to clean up and improve some of those bits and pieces that are already in the spec. Because it's clear that after discussing for hours and hours a particular topic, when you write down and describe a column, some of the ideas might not have been described as the way you've envisioned it. So some clarification is obviously needed for some of the columns. On top of that, being a developer at heart, I would like to squeeze those tights around normative paragraphs as well. Yeah, it's risky. We might introduce some breaking changes. We'll be mindful. We'll make sure that we consider all the pros and cons, but the idea is to get it right. So,
yeah, I think it's really important to consider that there are many things to consider when it comes to deciding what future versions of the spec will include. And that's a great point, like considering backward compatibility for a single column versus adding another column. Okay, fine, now you've avoided a breaking change, but then you've added another column, and then it's just growing and growing and growing, and then you have to consider that non-functional requirement of data set size. So there's many things to consider with a data model. There's not necessarily a right answer to how to construct this data across all of these providers. So many things we try to consider, many requirements are inputs to what we're doing. Back to you, Larry. What's your longer-term vision for the spec? What are your hopes and dreams? Where are we going?
Yeah, my hopes and dreams, so I'll ask a question here. Is anybody familiar with EDI? So I'm a little bit older, right? Okay, so I've used it about 20-some years ago, and I look at Focus as potentially a modern version of that. And it's much easier, much more verbose and complex, but can be applied to potentially all billing industries. Any companies has some sort of billing data. So I'm thinking like that big vision, right? We've got all the major providers, cloud providers that Twilio we're using. We've got hundreds of SaaS vendors. We've got lots of other hardware vendors, network, circuitry, telecoms, etc. I want all that data in Focus, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We'll get there eventually. Irena, same question to you. Hopes and dreams, where are we going?
So obviously, we are, by including SaaS, we've moved beyond public cloud. On-prem, labor, once we spread our wings, who knows where the limit is.
Yeah.
And besides that, now, currently we are dealing with cost and usage data, and initially we've introduced SKU ID and SKU price ID, and now we're dealing with SKU details, SKU bucket, both properties and taxonomy or hierarchy. Well, I'm wondering, are we actually, or potentially, specifying pricing next to cost and usage data by explaining what the SKU property is? Yeah. So, for the time being, I'm trying to focus on focus, but...
Yeah, definitely. Karl, tell us why someone today should start using Focus. Give us the elevator pitch.
Okay, so I've actually been in the Focus Lab downstairs quite a bit yesterday. I hope that I have this answer refined by now. And the first thing is being able to understand your cost data on day one is amazing. With the existing data feeds, there are simple questions that are never as simple as they should be. You know, how much are we spending on disk storage? How much do we have provisioned of disk storage? I'll get back to you tomorrow. Is that okay? Is that okay? And really with Focus, I remember the first time that I saw a Swagger API. And for lack of explaining all of that, I would call it a self-documenting API. I remember somebody sent that to me, and I go there, and everything that I can do is explained. There's a try it now button. And guess what we're doing with Focus? You can go downstairs to the Focus Lab. There is a real data set that's been slightly anonymized where you can take these use case library queries, prepackaged queries, try it out today, see what it looks like, and get to your, start crawling on day one. And the other thing that I think is important is to not paint yourself into a corner. As over my 5 years, I've developed a deep knowledge of how all of these different fields work and interact in the native billing. And all of a sudden, the scope expands. You have SaaS. Is it feasible to do that same thing over and over and over? How extensible is what you've already done? So the idea is that the specification will do exactly what it's supposed to. It will specify a common understanding of what each of these fields mean and how the data should be provided to us so that we can continue forward without needing to stumble over every new cloud service provider, every new SaaS provider, every new whatever other providers we get into.
Definitely. All right, we will have to leave it there. Please get involved. Come find us in the Focus Lab. We're downstairs. We'll be there all day. And reach out to any of us if you have any other questions. But thank you so much for your time.
Nice work. Way to go. Excellent. So, you've heard now how the sausage is made, as they say. One of the concepts we want to come to next is how FinOps is everyone's job, and how you can use all the people to scale the practice and ultimately bring out more value from the organization. So please welcome to the stage John Phillips from AWS.
All right, hello everyone. In a world of constant change, some things will always be true. Security is priority number one. Availability is essential. Agility brings adaptability. Speed matters. These and many more truths in the sectors in which exist in the sectors in which you operate or the customers that you serve will stand the test of time. And one of those is that cost structure is fundamental to sustaining a business. The application of FinOps will always be important. In a world of constant change, of technological innovation and experimentation, but also one with resource constraints and limitations, we look to these truths to guide our decision-making. I'm John Phillips. I'm the Director of Product Engineering for AWS's FinOps products. I spend most of my time thinking about how to apply FinOps to product design and software engineering, and I'm here to talk to you today about AWS's commitment to FinOps. It's been a little over a year since AWS joined the FinOps Foundation. We participate on the governing board, the technical advisory committee, the focus steering committee. We're here at these events, and it feels like we're just getting started. One of the reasons why we participate is to highlight the magnitude of the investment we make in helping our customers get the most out of their cloud spend. We have hundreds of field specialists, software developers, product managers, helping our customers mature their FinOps practices. We have dozens of tools, and with APIs and data exports at the heart of everything we offer, we are inviting you to innovate alongside us, to extend, to adapt, to shape what we have to offer to best integrate into your world. So we're also here as collaborators, as your partners, to listen, to learn, and to shape the future of FinOps together. I always say that FinOps is an essential requirement for at-scale cloud adoption. So therefore, shouldn't FinOps be adopted at scale? Yes. It's not a question of whether customers need this competency. It's a question of how quickly and deeply it pervades their people, processes, and organizations. Wildly successful FinOps requires scaling through others. In particular, software developers and product people. Why? Because we live in a world where cloud resources can get spun up and down, either directly by the applications themselves or indirectly by their resource consumption patterns. So cost is architecture. Cost is code. Shift left, everyone's job. The underlying theme with these is scaling through others. But scaling through others is hard. It requires impact through influence and not authority often. The thing that might have worked when an organization was smaller no longer works. This is a topic of great interest for our customers. So as I discuss AWS's commitment to FinOps, I'm going to do so through a simple framework for scaling through others, educate, motivate, and empower. Educate. Understanding is the first step to meaningful action. Scaling FinOps first requires a shared understanding of the problem, why it's important, and approaches for solving it. Why? Because without this, software developers or product managers might prioritize performance or functionality without understanding the lasting impact they have on cost structure. The FinOps Foundation does a fantastic job of advancing FinOps education, and AWS is also committed to FinOps education. We offer AWS training and certification. We offer well-architected labs, getting started guides, an ebook. We also, through our account teams and support organizations, offer more one-on-one educational engagements and even do maturity assessments. I'm also here to help. I often act as a FinOps sponsor for our customers, both in giving advice and making connections within AWS. So if that sounds interesting, please come find me. And also, we offer AWS Skill Builder, which is a free education platform. And I'm happy to share that we recently added 4 courses dedicated to FinOps, 2 of which are for technical personas like builders. So that's educate. Motivate. Ownership fuels engagement. What do I mean by this? I mean that ownership over a problem with the flexibility to make decisions about how to solve that problem and the freedom to succeed or fail inspires feelings of responsibility, accountability, autonomy, and ultimately motivation to deliver results. So how do you inspire a feeling of ownership over FinOps across a wide array of teams with varying roles? One approach called metrics-driven empowerment. This is where you find a metric and you partner with technology leadership to hold teams accountable to a metric that indicates FinOps success, but doesn't prescribe how that success is achieved. Unit costs are a great example. They can be created for each team. They can be tracked regularly. They indicate FinOps success relative to another period in time. but they don't prescribe how that success is achieved. AWS supports metrics-driven empowerment by offering foundational cost and usage data through our console and APIs and data exports. We offer split cost allocation data to help solve the shared infrastructure problem, where, for example, teams run on shared clusters of EC2 instances through containers, and those costs need to be split out and allocated to the teams that actually drive the usage. We offer data exports in the focus-compatible format so that it can be more easily exported, combined with other spend data, and combined with business and operational metrics through tools like the Cloud Intelligence Dashboard in order to build a unit cost picture. And I'm happy to share that we've had a number of our regional customers achieve success with cost allocation in developing a unit cost picture. Next, empower. No two software teams are the same, and no two teams are at the same place in their FinOps journey. So we provide tools to support them wherever they are. What if a team is in the early stages of planning a major new feature release that could dramatically impact costs? This team needs planning and estimation tools like the AWS pricing calculator to evaluate the cost of the architectures being considered. These teams might also need forecasting to help project the organic growth and the incremental growth that might happen with increased usage. What if a team is instead trying to improve their operational posture so they might understand the cost impact of a recent code deployment? We offer cost anomaly detection, budget-based monitoring, and cost and usage data can be integrated with CloudWatch in order to create metrics and alarms. What if a software team is focusing on entropy management, and as part of that, they're looking to understand what resources are stranded or underutilized? The Cost Optimization Hub helps surface idle and underutilized resources and prioritizes them by impact. So the need for support is only growing and becoming more varied. These teams need you, and AWS is here to support all of you. Stay tuned. While I don't have any product announcements today, I will in a couple of weeks at re:Invent in these categories that I've discussed. And I'm really excited to be partnering with the FinOps Foundation at re:Invent to host a networking event. The QR code is here. If you happen to be able to go, scan it, and we look forward to seeing you there. And of course, we'll be outside here in the foyer at our booth. Come meet me and my product managers, Rick Oakes and Roy Woolman, and the FinOps experts from the AWS field team. Thank you very much, and I look forward to shaping the future of FinOps with you.
Hey, nice work. Really good. Thank you, man. It's great to hear from John. I really love the aspect of education because it's so core, right? Tooling is helpful, process is helpful, but you need people to understand where they're swimming in the right direction. So next up, we're going to welcome to the stage Cyril from Microsoft to talk about that hot topic of FinOps for AI and AI for FinOps. Welcome, Cyril.
Well, hello, everybody. Great to come and help and try to close out this keynote this morning. It's great to be here all the way from Seattle. A bunch of us from Seattle, Microsoft, AWS, and a few others. We decided to bring the weather with us. So apologize for that, and hopefully we'll fix that on Thursday, Friday. Just as we all head out, we'll take the weather back with us. Winter weather in Seattle is undeniable. Also, sort of undeniable is the era that we're in right now. If you think back to the platforms that came on in our technology base, whether it's mobile, internet, or cloud, massive platforms that were laid. AI is the next platform that is being laid in the industry. And we have to think about it at that altitude. What's different about this is two things. One, it's being driven by business, and two, it's happening at a much faster pace. And so within all your organizations and other customers worldwide that we speak to, it's undeniable that we're in this era. Of course, we're at a FinOps conference. As FinOps practitioners, we sit here. So what does this mean? And I think JR set this up nicely yesterday, whether we are talking about AI supporting FinOps and FinOps practices, or FinOps influencing how AI gets implemented, we have lots of opportunity. So I thought I'd talk about these two areas, how we elevate our FinOps practices in those two areas, enhancing efficiency of the work that we do as practitioners, and then how we help the broader industry and our organization accelerate the innovation with AI. So let's jump into the first area of enhanced efficiency. So we all know this is a top priority. This is where we as practitioners spend a lot of our time helping our customers be more efficient. And so I wanted to just take a few areas in these two categories and show you what customers are doing today with our products and tools in these categories. The first one, how we're democratizing data. Really important as practitioners as we help bring data together. And so here's one example that you can see in the Azure experience where you have AI Copilot talking and having a conversation with a FinOps practitioner or another IT practitioner. No real deep technology needed here, but really having a conversation with your cost management data. What's going on? What activities can I do? Another area in data democratization is how we can bring data together in one single place. There are lots of opportunities and ways to do that. But a good example here with Microsoft Fabric is bringing data not only from Microsoft cost management, of course, based on focus, but taking data across different clouds and across different data stores into one data lake. And from there, you're able to share and create experiences. Now, Fabric is not just a standard data store. It looks at your data and then actually out of the box will make a recommendation based on your structure of your data on what your dashboard should actually look like. It'll auto-generate the dashboard for you. And then again, you can have a conversation with your dashboard now and talk to it about, hey, I would love to change my pie chart for a bar chart. I would like to do different things with my data. So the world we live in of FinOps practitioners is changing and will continue to change in a very quick way. So the next area is really around how do we, as practitioners, help accelerate the AI-driven innovation that's going on in the market. Now, this is a moment for us as leaders on FinOps and the learnings that we've had over the last 5 to 7 years to bring that to our AI colleagues so that we can avoid making the same mistakes that we've made with the cloud platform on this new AI platform. So that we don't implement it in a way that we look back and go, oh, we've got 5 years of work to do on optimization. And so when we talk to customers about how they should implement their AI, we talk to them about these three categories, really establishing a great foundation, building it correctly from the beginning, and then how do you manage and optimize it over time. Many of you will think about Microsoft as this large language model or OpenAI partnership, but we really want customers to focus on the entire life cycle of their AI platform. So let me give you an example of what customers are doing today in the product. The first area is just starting with the basics. Where do I focus to get the best return on my investment? This group here is the investment piece. Where do my costs come from? And how much do I invest? But you really want to have a broader conversation. Which scenarios do I focus on? And where do I go to get the best return? And then how do I build my skills? Then in our Azure AI platform, they get the opportunity to really think about their end-to-end scenarios, how they can manage risks and costs from the beginning. And so a great example here that we talk through is how we help customers think through not having to build their own large language model, but rather train the large language model on their data, but do it in a secure, private way so that the large language model does not have access to the data and is not trained itself and reports that back to any other mothership, if you will. It's really specific to your area. A lot more cost effective than building your own large language model or buying your own GPUs or graphics processing units or AI units. Another model here is called RAG. And so RAG allows you to, even without training the model, to do ability to query your data, and even a more cost-effective model. So we're trying to help AI practitioners understand essentially principles of cost management as they build things out. But what about the model itself? So Azure AI, you probably know OpenAI is a very popular model and is used quite extensively, but there are 1,300 models available in the Azure AI platform. So we have to help customers make a performance versus cost ratio analysis so that they can decide for the scenario that they want, which model should they pick. And as we move forward, there'll be hundreds of applications inside your organization and customer-facing organizations, and they will use a variety of large language models. So how can we, within the product, show them the correct benchmarking of price performance so they can make that right decision, and ideally, switch between large language models? Of course, we shouldn't go anywhere without talking about risk mitigation and trustworthy AI. What does that mean? It's the intersection of security, safety, and privacy with regard to AI itself. How do we ensure safe model conversations with no hallucinations, security to prevent hacks, and of course, privacy? And we have hundreds of scenarios that we've implemented here, including content classification, model monitoring, and jailbreak protection, just as an example. But this is about risk mitigation. But as practitioners, you will know, if we don't mitigate the risk, what happens a few years down the line? It leads to cost implication. And so we have to proactively manage the risk and the cost early in the cycle. Okay, so now we exit the build phase and we're entering how do we manage and optimize on an ongoing basis. And here, this is where the cost management components provide a fantastic way to get access to real-time insights and help you and your team make informed decisions and allow you to optimize on the go. Here is example, customized views, building those customized views for different periods or different examples, sharing those out to other stakeholders, and finding ways to automatically get updated. Talking about automatic updates, budget alerts, set your ability to set thresholds and get notified when those thresholds are hit, so directly in the product. And then forecasting, based on your own usage patterns and data, what forecasting is available for you to be able to predict where you're at. Now, we had a panel earlier talking about sustainability. We should not forget about sustainability. So we have capability in the product to do carbon optimization and allow you to look at your environmental impact and primary contributions to that impact and ways to mitigate that and manage it. So, in summary, really the world that we live in is essentially about how AI is going to lay a new platform and how we as FinOps practitioners should be thinking about that both within our business and how we take our experiences and partner with your AI colleagues in your organization and help them lay out the platform for the future. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Great job. Very cool. Thank you, Cyril, and all the speakers. So, one of the other concepts that came out last night I want to share with you is the idea is how data is starting to spread out in the organization. It's really like, and I'm stealing somebody's term here last night, it's like mycelium spreading out under the ground, feeding data out into different parts of the org. So I figured we had to have an AI image. The AIs gave us this morning, but the idea here is we're starting with cloud, and we're spreading that data out into other areas. And the beauty of this is the work is just getting started. For me, personally, in the foundation, it feels like 2017 again. We've got a whole new area to figure out, which is how do we get this data to other parts? How do we integrate more areas? How do we tackle the new challenges of AI in these other areas? So I encourage you to go out there, continue the conversations, and I want to tell you about your next two chances to come together with us and with this community. So the first one is April 1st in London. This will be a full day, one-day event. Encourage many of you to come to this. You can register for it now. It's available. This is going to be a continuation of all these conversations here. And the big one that we'd love to see you in just, it's scary, it's only 6 months away, is FinOps X San Diego. So this is the global conference. It is the same format as this, multiple days, but it's going to be around 2,000 people. So considerably larger, a lot more speakers, a lot more conversations, a lot more depth. A little bit of a trip, but a lot of us came out this way. We encourage you, a lot of you to go out that way. So please go out there, have conversations, have coffee, and let's keep talking. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X Europe content on our YouTube channel playlist. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and leave comments and questions for speakers to help our channel. We appreciate your support.